I think we're at a point where nobody believes a fact check anymore. We just know that they're leftist organisations trying to push some kind of leftist agenda. But there was a fact check that came out about our claim, our social media post about the bill in South Australia making history passing through the upper house. That is particularly laughable. It's by the Daily Aus, and we just had to do an episode on it. That's what we're doing. That's today on the Dr. Joe Show. All right, thank you so much for joining us today. Glad to have you back, darling. I know you get pretty weary with all these episodes I make you film.
Not at all, darling. They're the joy of my life.
You keep trying to angle to get lunch. So I also, just feel very grateful to you, grateful to all of you guys for joining us again today. If you are new here, please do subscribe. Let's get straight in. So the bill that passed the South Australian Parliament on Wednesday, June 17, was historic because it's the first ever pro-life bill to push up against abortion to birth in this country that's ever passed. Now, I got an email from leftist organisation, the Daily Aus. They're just, you might be wondering, what are they? Yeah, they're just one of these leftist media organisations. They've got over 500,000 followers on socials. They're reasonably prominent, really, and they prosecute a leftist agenda time and time again. So they put up my carousel. Let's fact check this. Australia, tonight we passed the first pro-life bill in a House of Parliament ever. Here's how the MPs voted. Now, it is slightly ironic because we used their style guide to make the style guide for our carousels. Like, you know, it's just kind of funny that the organisation that we pretty much copied.
You stole their
we stole. Yeah, I don't care about design. I know you care about design. I mean, you had no part in this. Yeah, I did this one without you. But I would
never sanction this theft, even from a leftist.
Yeah, James is a furniture designer, so he's very much against design theft. But
I actually don't really care that much. But anyway, carry on.
But our graphic designer a couple of years ago, I said to him, look, I like this style. It's very clear. Let's use this style as the way we do newsy carousel posts. So we've done that. And it is kind of funny that now they are fact-checking us a couple of years later, no doubt noticing the very similar style. But who cares? Like, they don't have a monopoly on that bold black and white text.
Well, they pretty much do, but yeah.
James, okay. So, like, what are they going on about? I got an email saying, you know, apparently, according to Lyle Shelton and Family First, there was another pro-life bill that had passed. So, you know, what do you have to say about that? So I was like, this is going to be interesting. Now, I had noticed that Lyle Shelton had been putting up on Facebook. I thought this was curious, actually, because I didn't know why he would write this, but he wrote, for the second time in history, a pro-life bill has passed an Australian parliamentary chamber. Last night, Family First MLC Sarah Games' bill to ban late-term abortion succeeded in the South Australian Legislative Council, 10 votes to 9. It's pretty funny how they're claiming it as a Family First bill when, like, she literally joined Family First 10 seconds ago. Politics is so dirty. Like, people who have nothing to do with it are suddenly like flying in from interstate and talking to journalists trying to claim ownership over it. But anyway, but I don't know why he says that second time in history. And in fact, I wrote back to the journalist and said, I think you're referring to the 1998 ACT bill. Now, some of you guys won't know that bill. That's the Health Regulation Maternal Health Information Act, 1998. It was a private member's bill introduced by an independent MP. Canberra, ACT only has one house. Mm-hmm. And so you only have to get it through one house to get it passed. That was Paul Osborne. And it was largely regarded as a pro-life measure, but it had nothing to do with gestational limits. It provided provision of information to women who are considering abortions and a compulsory waiting period of 72 hours. Now, a waiting period is good. The research shows that if you force women to just take a bit of extra time, or if you force them to see the ultrasound of their child, they're going to be much less likely to abort. So babies do get saved by that. These are good measures. But since abortion up to birth has been introduced, there has not been a pro-life bill passed. And interestingly, this 1998 measure in Canberra, just 4 years later, the Parliament's composition changes. And what do we get in the ACT? We get abortion up to birth for the first time in any jurisdiction without restriction, and indeed even without two doctors. Like, it's just abortion on demand up to birth. Now, they don't have the hospital facilities in the ACT to do late-term abortions, but it is there in the legislation that it's up to birth. How do you go from passing a somewhat, pro-life measure by one vote extra in 1998 to suddenly in 2002 to abortion up to birth for any reason? I mean, it tells you something about, you can't just win this based on clever politics in the parliament. You just can't. Like, just because by chance you have the extra vote you need, you actually can't win that way if you haven't done the hard work in the culture.
Yeah.
Because if in 1998 the work had been done in the culture to make it pro-life, you wouldn't have been able to introduce successfully in 2002, just 3.5 years later essentially, abortion up to birth without restriction.
Totally.
So that's interesting, isn't it? Just to sort of have that history. So I think you could say that is a pro-life bill. I don't know why Lyle felt the need to go on about that. And indeed, it was picked up by a leftist organisation, the Daily Aus, who go figure, make sense of this if you can. So they write, on Wednesday night, South Australia's upper house passed a bill to restrict late-term abortions. This is apparently their fact check. For a bill to become law in the state, it must pass both houses of parliament. This bill didn't pass the lower house. Activist Dr. Joanna Howe, supporter of the bill and of restricting abortion, posted to Instagram saying, "We passed the first pro-life bill in a House of Parliament." Yes. They're explaining the bicameral system. You've got two houses, didn't pass both houses. But that's not what the claim was. The claim that they should be fact-checking is my claim, which is we passed the first pro-life bill in a House of Parliament.
Yeah, they're what exactly are they even checking here? Which fact are they checking? You said that you passed the first pro-life bill in a House of Parliament, and then they're saying, well, actually, there's two houses of parliaments, and so in order for the bill to pass, it has to pass through both houses. It's okay, so does that mean that you fact-checked her and found out she was correct? She said a house, she didn't say both houses, she didn't say that it passed into law. So, it seems a little bit redundant.
And if I'd said we passed the first pro-life law, that would be incorrect because a bill has to pass two houses to become law in a bicameral state like South Australia.
Yeah.
And in fact, the first pro-life law potentially under one reading to have passed is the one in the ACT, very short-lived, and not on gestational limits, but did pass. So the question they ask is it the first bill? And they write, on Wednesday, Howe described Games legislation as the first pro-life bill to pass in Australian House of Parliament. In a media release on Thursday, Family First Party National Director Lyle Shelton called it the second time in history, raising a previous example. The ACT's Legislative Assembly passed a requirement in 1998 for a 72-hour cooling-off period between asking for and getting a termination. It undid this requirement in 2002. They then say TDA reached out to Howe, who said it is the first time a bill has passed a House of Parliament since abortion up to birth was first introduced. And then they write, every jurisdiction in Australia requires two doctors to approve a termination in the late stages of gestation. I don't know what they are trying to do there. I think the purpose is to cast shade on the claim abortion up to birth. So they're saying you need two doctors as if that somehow makes it not legal and accessible after viability.
Yeah, so they're trying to fact check you on whether abortion is legal up until birth. I think that's what's going on. They're basically fact-checking on you on that in the same way as they're fact-checking on you and your claim that it was the first bill to pass a House of Parliament. And it turns out that you're correct on both claims. But this is what they always do on the left, the pro-abortion side. They can never actually fact-check us on anything. So they just go, well, actually, I don't really like her wording. Personally, I would like it if she'd provided a lot more nuance, and said that abortion care is, only available in the most heartbreaking and tragic circumstances with very stringent safeguards, and it requires the approval of two doctors. That's the wording that we prefer that she would have used. It's okay, sure, you can use whatever stupid euphemism you want. We will just use plain language, and it doesn't mean it's false. It just means you don't prefer it. So I think these guys, it's almost like they struggle with the very concept of what a fact check even is.
So just because you need two doctors to access something doesn't turn it from somehow being legal to illegal because you need two doctors. An analogy would be driving isn't illegal just because I need to access a driver's license.
No. No, exactly. Yeah, no, that's right.
Why did you say no?
No, it doesn't mean. That's what I was.
Oh, you
I was
agree with me?
Your,
Okay, So let me just make the point.
No, you're absolutely right.
Clearly,
Okay.
No, you can also make the point too. But just because there's red tape and hurdles, just because you can't walk up and demand heart surgery doesn't mean that heart surgery is illegal.
By this measure, like mining is illegal in Australia.
Because you need
you're not
a
allowed
license.
to mine because you need. Can you imagine how many hurdles you would have to like jump through to start to like create like an open cut mine in Australia? How many environmental protocols you'd have to observe? How many occupational health and safety checks you would have to do? How many?
We get the point, but yeah, there's red tape.
But you think it's hard. You think that these guys are implying that late term abortion is tantamount to being illegal just because you need two doctors. And yet I'm sure that these leftists here would say it's perfectly legal to mine coal in Australia, you know, or buy a 6-pack of beer. If you're 20 and you look a little bit young, the fact that you have to show an ID doesn't make it illegal for a 20-year-old to buy beer. That, like, the presence of checks and balance, like the presence of like protocols that you have to observe, and whether a thing is illegal or not illegal, those things are not even in the same universe. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Of course. And you know, you foreshadowed it, I think, without even knowing what was on the next slide. This is what this is really about. So they write, the SA Abortion Reporting Committee reported 1% of all abortions in 2024 were performed after 22 weeks and 6 days, which is within the second trimester. The reason is for these terminations were the physical or mental health of the pregnant person, 68%, fetal anomaly, 30% to save the life of the pregnant person or another fetus, 1%. Now, they say doctors could nominate a multiple reason for terminating a pregnancy, but the reality is the raw numbers add up. So it doesn't seem like doctors are nominating multiple reasons. There's a table and it adds up to 48. And
that's a myth that they say it on the left. Oh, you know, you can have multiple reasons. Well, no, the data does not bear that out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and look at this. They say these were performed within the second trimester. They don't know that. This is just abortions after 22 weeks and 6 days. They're just trying to make it sound like it's happening at that point, like earlier, before the 28-week mark in the third trimester. The reality is it's still barbaric at 22 weeks and 6 days. Heck, it's barbaric at just a moment's old after fertilization. But these guys, this is the reason for the fact check. They want to claim abortion up to birth is not really true because you need two doctors to access it, and they want to say, oh, it's less than 1%. So like, what are we even talking about? And it's always for the most egregious of circumstances. So they then say, in the Family First media release, Shelton said, credit must be given to Howe for initiating several pro-life bills in recent years, including last night's. I think Lyle Shelton must have got a bit nervous when he realised a leftist organisation was using his Facebook post to attack me. They then write, addressing the vote, Howe called it a truly historic breakthrough moment for our movement and that we couldn't be more pleased at achieving this landmark victory. SA Health Minister Blair Boyer, he's a radical leftist, by the way, voted against the bill, saying he's firmly of the belief that we already have a fit-for-purpose legislative framework that treats abortion as healthcare. That's literally the last post, so none of us are any the wiser as to the facts really that I got wrong there.
Or even the facts that they were trying to check.
Yeah.
They don't even make it clear what they're even trying to fact check. It's just like the biggest nothing burger I've ever seen. It's ironic, don't you think, that in the end, the only fact that they might be able to get you on a little bit is the Lyle Shelton one of like, well, actually, technically a bill that could be described as pro-life passed in Canberra, you know. When was that? Back in 1998 or whatever. So even if you do call that a pro-life bill, which admittedly...
It had a pro-life...
You totally can.
Yeah.
But even then... that still fails to prove anything you said wrong, because you said that yours was the first bill to pass a House of Parliament, and Canberra doesn't have Houses of Parliament. Yeah. So it doesn't even contradict what you said. So
yeah, no, I know. And we think carefully about the claims that we make when we make them. It is interesting, and I think at some point we must do an episode on this around like how do you change the culture and pass laws that actually last. There isn't much going back in Australian history of pro-life activity legislatively moving in our direction. So, for example, there was there've been some parliamentary motions. There's a woman in New South Wales who passed a motion in the Upper House in 1998, and it was this House affirms the principle of the sanctity of life as being the supreme principle and respect of human beings. The principle applies with equal force and validity to the unborn child. And that's fantastic that this was a motion passed in 1998.
88.
1988. Yeah, 1988. That's actually quite important. But it's not a law. And we've really struggled to pass law. So, for example, the Joh Bjelke-Petersen government tried the Pregnancy Termination Control Bill in 1980 in Queensland. This was a bill that sought to protect children in the womb. It would have only allowed abortion in severe fetal anomaly and when there was a serious risk to the mother's life. It would have saved so many babies if it had passed, but 19 of Joh Bjelke-Petersen's own MPs crossed the floor. So it is interesting to see that on our side, we're pretty much been wholly unsuccessful. And so that's why Wednesday night was such a significant breakthrough in South Australia to pass it through the one House of Parliament. All of this to say, I think this fact check from the Daily Aus, can we even call it a fact check?
Well, I think we should just check the fact of that they've claimed, which is that was a fact check.
Yeah, we should.
What do you say? What do you give it? What designation do you give that?
I give that a designation of completely wrong.
False.
False. Yeah.
Completely false.
Completely false. Yeah, completely false.
Me too. That was not a fact check.
Yeah, they did it so that all their leftist audience could pile on and say really mean stuff about me, and then they could look like they were on the side of all the people. That's why they do it. Yeah, it really doesn't bother me in the slightest. It's kind of funny and actually kind of builds our movement and builds our reach, which is really cool. You know, they don't fact check you if you are not an enemy, like if you're not a target. They do it when they want to take you out. So all of this to say we're really building great momentum. If you are new here, do subscribe. Also become a member if you want to financially support our channel. And finally, there are a few tickets left to the National Life Gala on July 11, where we'll be celebrating the win, celebrating the individuals, also having a great night with a live band in a 5-star hotel in the centre of Sydney. We're going to be there. You're going to get your dancing shoes on, darling?
Nope.
James, that's a bit of a buzzkill.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
If you require me to get my dancing shoes on in order to have a buzz, then you're just going to have no buzz. And
I know that you and I, like, we dance at our wedding, if you can call it that.
I don't think you can call it that.
Yeah, and we haven't really danced at weddings or in public since. Like, we're just not big dancers.
You should do it.
No, I dance, but like more in a really stupid, embarrassing kind of way. Like
not in front of strangers.
Yeah, I dance with the kids on the lounge room floor or in the car. We've got the music playing, but I don't really dance in front of strangers. Anyway, I think I'll try. I think I had aspirations when we announced the gala that you and I would take dancing classes and we would get really good, just hit up that dance floor. But life's been so busy with these campaigns and with the kids that we just haven't done it.
It's not going to happen, babes.
Maybe for next year's gala. But if you want to see us dance badly and me maybe even force James onto the dance floor, that's worth paying money for. Come to the National Life Gala. That's the link in the description below. Thank you for watching. We love you guys and appreciate your support. And that's today on The Dr. Joh Show.